Welcome back to Rand on Real Estate. I'm your host, Greg Rand, on 77 WABC. And we've been talking all about opportunity here. That's what the show is all about, bootstrapping American entrepreneurship and real estate as the focus of our entrepreneurial creativity. We've been talking about the market overcorrecting, and in the face of all the negativity around us, how we have no choice, if we're American entrepreneurs, to look for the opportunities and find a way to succeed no matter what. And I have a very popular guest on the phone. How you doing, Uncle Vinny?
Very well, thank you.
Uncle Vinny is my wife's uncle. Vincent Pribish is his real name, his full name. And Uncle Vin lived through the Great Depression and has a very interesting story. We spoke last week or 2 weeks ago on the radio, and the feedback I got was great. They said, Greg, shut up and let Uncle Vinny talk. He's got such great things to share. So let's just bring everybody up to speed here. Uncle Vin, you were, when the stock market crashed in 29, you were, what, about 10 years old?
Just about.
Just about 10 years old. And so stock market crashed, and that began a 10-year malaise in the American economy where everybody pretty much knows the hardship. They're familiar with the hardship, and nothing I'm saying here is designed to diminish the pain of that, but we're telling a different story. Tell us about when your family came here. Just catch us up. They came here from Czechoslovakia, and what'd you all do to make a living?
Well, my mom and dad came, as you said, from the old country, and they immediately opened a grocery store, an old-fashioned mom-and-pop grocery store. And as the store progressed and the children showed up in the family, my mom especially was very busy in real estate and acquired possession of several houses in the lower section of the city of Poughkeepsie, and rented them out. In the meantime, the store was opened, and a whole series of events started to happen.
Let me just interrupt for a second, just to catch everybody up. So the thing I love about this already is the fact that, you know, we didn't have an internet back then. It wasn't like people could just go out and start some crazy business selling widgets on the internet. The things the fundamentals of life back then were a roof over your head and food in your belly, right? When you hear about the Great Depression, you hear about unemployment, hunger, and homelessness. And basically the business that your family got into was a roof over the head. You bought real estate for yourselves, and then she acquired other property for people to rent out. In other words, Great Depression or not, people don't like living outdoors. And so there's going to be demand for a roof over the head, and she did that. And then secondarily, the primary income generator for the family that allowed you to buy that real estate was that you started a grocery store under the theory that if you had a grocery store downstairs, you'd have food for the family. Simple. Simple and beautiful in its simplicity. But you told me just after our last interview, you told me about some other things that you did as the family continued to grow, the family's success continued to percolate. Tell us about the poorhouse.
Well, yes. The thrust of the events that were happening circled around real estate. And now, to me, as a young boy, all these events were separate events, and to me there was no real connection seen. However, that in time passed. So the first thing that we knew was that Mom had bought these houses down in the lower section of Poughkeepsie and was renting them. And we were working with my mom and my father in the store for the little bit that we could add to it. And one of the key strange events was the appearance of a wagon, and the wagon was primarily to allow the store to do things that it wanted to do. Now, in time, there was a second event. We noticed that on Saturdays we were packing large boxes with groceries, and then we would get a taxi or something, I assume, and these were taken out of the store. That was followed by the appearance of an automobile in the family. And now there was no taxi needed, and the shipment of these packages, the rate increased. Well, in time we found out that these packages were being transported to what was called a poorhouse. And the poorhouse in Poughkeepsie was a place where someone could go if they were hard up and needed a meal, and so on. And somehow or other, Mom and Dad got some kind of an agreement with the city, I assume, that we would ship out food to them on Saturdays.
So the poorhouse became your big client of your grocery
Yes.
store, basically. So what's amazing about that is that I get pushback. Okay, there's a political correctness out there that says you can't be a profiteer during the Great Recession. I mean, you just can't. You can't be trying to build a business. I mean, there are people that get mad at me because of this radio show, because I dare to give advice to people and try to encourage people to get out there and try to build wealth no matter what. Like I'm giving advice on this show to go out there and buy a foreclosed property. Now, I can hear them right now. I can hear them out there saying, this guy's a rotten guy. He's trying to make a profit or encouraging others to make a profit on other people's pain. Well, I don't think anybody would fault your mom and dad for owning a grocery store and then looking across town and seeing the poorhouse, which had a need for a constant supply of food. They wouldn't fault them. Maybe they would. I mean, did people back in the day say, oh, those privishes, they're such profiteers, trying to make money off the plight of hungry people? Did that happen back then?
Now, I didn't see these things as connected factors, but on hindsight, I know that my mother especially was always looking for new ways of using the store and ultimately of getting real estate. And because we now are getting to the point where we're heading off to college. My oldest brother was sent to the University of Pennsylvania by my mother. And I'm sure that was money, and she had to find that money.
So it's just, time flies on real estate, so we're actually having to wrap up the interview. But I tell you, the lesson is so beautiful because the political correctness that pushes back today, that tells people that we all have to wait on the sidelines for the Great Recession to be over before we're allowed to live again, before we're allowed to try to build wealth again. And the thing that I take away from conversations with you, Uncle Vin, is that, see, I know your kids. And I know your kids are all bootstrapping entrepreneurs, too. They've all got different fields they're in, but they're all doers. And if people, if I'm out there and I'm trying to sit this one out, I'm waiting for it to be safe to talk positively again, what message am I sending to the young people in my life? As opposed to the message your mom and dad sent you, which is there are always opportunities to make money. There's always opportunities to make your way if that's what you focus on. Would you say that was the message that you took away from there?
Yes, absolutely.
All right, beautiful. All right, Uncle Vin, thank you again so much for being on the show. You're a great guy, and your story is so compelling, and I hope people got what they should have gotten out of it because it's really inspiring. So thanks for being with us. You're listening to Rand on Real Estate on 77 WABC. The website is gregrand.com. Thanks for being with us.
77 WABC.